Welcome back to the It's Too Easy podcast. I'm Zach. This is my brother Jake, and we're going to be talking this week strictly about some NFL, what teams we think are going to be making the playoffs, and what we expect for this week. So, Jake, how about you get us started with this week's matchups?
Yeah, so NFL's kicking off this week tonight with the Steelers right now against the Patriots. Looks like the Patriots are kicking some butt, so good for them after having a couple of poor weeks on offense. Not a game I was super interested in, but first game I am interested in is the Bucks against the Falcons. Um, Bucks are going in against the Falcons. Falcons are going to be at home. I do like the Bucks though money line in this game. I think they're just the better team, and I feel like the Falcons are going to struggle on offense against this pretty good Bucks D line. So for that reason, I'm going to take the Bucks money line, and I got it at plus 110. Hopefully that number will move a little more. So yeah, I'm loving the Bucks this week.
Yeah, I think the Falcons are a little overrated. They're also pretty good at home, though. So I'm just going to take the 3 points for the Bucks. Might buy it to 3.5. So that way I don't push if they do lose by a field goal. I wouldn't be surprised to see them win. I do think they win this game. It would also give them the division title at 6-7, tied with the Falcons. And if the Saints win, they would also be tied at 6-7. But I think Baker's going to be back. He's going to be a little healthier than he was last week, and they're going to take care of business in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid pick. Bucks look pretty good for a good chance for a win this week. Lions and the Bears are also playing. Last time that was a crazy game where the Lions came back and won in the end. I don't expect this one to be quite as crazy as the last one. I'm taking the Lions money line at minus 185. I feel like that's pretty low for a Lions team that's looked pretty good throughout the season. Obviously, the last few weeks they've looked a little shaky against some better teams, but I feel like this Bears team is just not very good, and with a backup quarterback there, or Fields is playing, they may be closer, but I just think the Lions team is better at this point.
Yeah, I don't really like the game just because the Bears did kind of handle them last time they played, and that was in
True.
Detroit. So I'm just going to lay off. If you had a gun to my head, I would definitely take the Lions money line. I'd probably take them to cover the 3 as well. But again, I'm not going to touch it. Lions haven't played as good outside, and also Chicago played them tough last time they matched up. So leaving it alone.
Yeah, that may be a cold game too, but I know Jared Goff loves playing the gold. Colts money line against the Bengals. Bengals obviously look pretty solid with Jake Browning in at quarterback, but I feel like this is like the Colts are just on a roll right now with Gardner, and he's playing some solid ball, and they're definitely looking to creep into the playoffs for sure. Right now they're leading the division, looking to keep that away from the Texans, so I like that a lot. This will kind of keep them in
I think
that.
the Jags have it,
Or
but
yeah, sorry, the Jags. But yeah, Jags without Lawrence this week may make it even more interesting. But yeah, the Colts, I like them this week against the Bengals. Jake Browning's going to have another tough defense to look at, and it's just going to be. I feel like the Colts are going to be able to give him so many looks that they're going to be able to make the turnovers happen, and Gardner's going to get it done.
yeah, I love Gardner Minshew so much that
He's
it's
great.
it's it's hard to not go for him. This
Mm-hmm.
is another game I'm probably not going to touch because I am leaning on the Bengals winning it at home, getting back to 7-6, tying the likes of probably the Browns, Colts, possibly Texans, stuff like that. Steelers after tonight are going to be right there as well.
True.
So I kind of feel like this is a game that the Bengals win. Jake Browning looks phenomenal. Gardner's my guy. They've won 4 straight. I would love to see them get to 5 straight. Um, but I'm not going to touch it because I am leaning on the Bengals.
Fair enough. Rams and Ravens are playing. I feel like this is going to be a close game because Matt Stafford's looked pretty good the last couple of weeks, other than a few pretty bad balls here and there. But overall, I feel like he's been still getting the ball to Puka, and Puka's been doing his thing. If they can keep doing that, get Cooper the ball, I feel like they'll keep this game close. But I do think the Ravens are the better team. I feel like the Ravens are going to be able to run the ball better, so I'm expecting them to win. I'm taking them on the money line.
Yeah, I'm going to take them with the -6. I do think that it'll probably end up being a closer game, but I'm not sure what Puka's status is. Um, he's got over 1,000 yards through his first 12 games. I think he's got over 70 catches, and
It's crazy.
they compared him to Randy Moss on First Take or something the other day, and he's got a better start to his career than Randy Moss did.
That's crazy.
As well as Jettas and all these other guys. Like he's playing phenomenal football, and if he's not playing, that's going to be a big loss for them, especially playing against such a tough Ravens pass defense. I think they're still top three in the NFL, if not the first. Um, they don't run the ball too effectively. Kyron Williams has been solid here and there, but I do think the Ravens handle business. I expect it to be probably a lower scoring game, maybe like a 24-14 or something like that. But I do think Ravens probably end up covering the six. So I'm going to take that.
Yeah, I like that. I'm just gonna stick with the Ravens in my line because it's a little bit safer. But I like the way the Rams are playing too, so it'll be a fun game to watch for sure. Vikings and the Raiders. Obviously, like a couple weeks ago, talked about how expecting to start fading the Raiders, and this is another one of those games where Vikings had a pretty rough loss last week, but they got to get one back, and I feel like their team is better set up to make a run for the playoffs than the Raiders. So I think just for that reason, I like the Vikings more in this game against the Raiders, even though they're at home. I feel like they're going to be able to get turnovers in plus territory, and it's going to be another low scoring game, but the Vikings are going to be able to squeak it out.
Yeah, Brian Flores has had that defense playing well for the Vikings for the last 6, 7 weeks, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So going against a young quarterback in Aiden O'Connell, obviously the coach stepping in. Raiders have played fairly well at home, so I do think it is going to be a close game.
Sure.
But I'm leaning on taking Josh Dobbs. Has had a lot of turnovers in the last few starts. They considered benching him. Obviously, coming off the bye week, they're going to have Justin Jefferson back this week, as well as Jordan Addison's been balling, T.J. Hawkinson's been balling, Madison's been doing his thing the last couple of weeks. So I do think the Vikings come out of there with a win.
Yeah, I like the Vikings this week in Las Vegas. Then we got Buffalo and Kansas City going against the Chiefs this week. Um, Man, I'm kind of back and forth in this game because I feel like this is just going to be another classic Bills Chiefs game. And if it's going to be another classic, then my lean is on the Chiefs money line. But I'm just so back and forth that it's just like I just expect this to be a great game. So what do you think?
Yeah, the Chiefs don't ever lose back to backs, and they're going home.
True.
On that note, I'm taking the Bills plus three. I'm gonna take them plus 3.5. I'll probably take them on the money line as well. Josh Allen's been getting a lot of hate throughout the year. It's not really on him. Like he's got 13 picks or whatever it is, but a lot
There've
of
been
them are tip balls.
a lot of deflected balls, a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff that some of it's his fault, some's not. But this is a must win,
True.
and I feel like a lot of games that I've watched have all been 3-point games where the Bills should have beaten the Chiefs or did beat the Chiefs. Mahomes might have a comeback at the end, so I think playing it safe with Bills plus 3.5 is a good bet. I also do think they win. The Chiefs, like I said all year, I don't think they're that good this year. Their offense has been struggling. Um, the Bills' offense has been putting up a lot of points recently, even though they haven't really been
Yeah,
coming away with wins. If they put up, 27, I think that'll be good enough to win them the game.
for sure.
Chiefs will probably put up 20 to 24 in that range, so I do think it'll be a close back and forth game a little bit. But I expect the Bills to come away with a win, get back to 7-6, and try and find themselves in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. For me, it's just tough to go against the Chiefs and Taylor Swift. That team doesn't really lose a lot back to back, so that's a tough task for the Bills for sure this week. Broncos and the Chargers. I've been back and forth, but man, the Chargers just don't look good, and their coaching is not giving them any help whatsoever. And on the flip side, the Broncos, obviously, they lost to the Texans last week, but they had won like 5 games straight before that. So for me, it's like what team is playing better right now? It's clearly Denver, but this is a must-win game for the Chargers. Yet I feel like this is the game where they're going to lose. The reason being, I feel like this is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back or whatever for the coaching staff, and they're going to finally get rid of that whole thing or figure out that by the end of the season, everybody's gone. We're not making the playoffs. This is a disaster. We've got the roster. We just need the coaches. So I think this could be one of those games. For that reason, I do like the Broncos plus 3.5. I might sprinkle a little bit on the money line as well. The Chargers just put up 6 points last week against the Patriots. Now, granted, the Patriots defense is still pretty good, but they are pretty banged up. So it's it's pretty shocking that Justin Herbert and that offense only put up 6. So yeah, I like the Broncos plus 3.5 this week.
Yeah, I'm just going to take what my eyes have been showing me, and that's that the Broncos are a decent football team and the Chargers suck.
Yeah,
A lot of it, like you said, is coaching staff. They have the personnel, the coaching's terrible. Belichick's going to go out there and stomp Tomlin in Pittsburgh tonight, at least by the looks of what we saw before we started.
yeah,
And Joe Staley's probably going to lose another close game at home. And maybe this will be the week he gets fired. I could see that very, very much. And maybe that'll start the talks more of Belichick coming to Los Angeles come next year. I do expect it to be low scoring too. I'm not sure what the over under was set at. I think it'll be like a 20-17 game. I think Broncos probably pull it off, but they're getting 3.5, so I'm just going to take the 3.5
yeah. It feels
and
good.
call it a day.
Yeah, I like that. And freaking, I saw a slip tonight already that had 200 Henry touchdowns, 75-1. So if you had
Uh,
that, good on you. That's wild. um, and then Eagles and Cowboys. Cowboys finally get a chance at redemption at home against the Eagles. They've looked great at home. Obviously, had a tough game against the Seahawks where DK had 3 scores, but this is a game where it feels like the Cowboys must win. They kind of got a blueprint from this last week from the Niners, and if they can replicate that, then they should be able to come away with a win here.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys take care of business at home. It seems like every year in recent memory, the Cowboys and Eagles always split. I don't expect this to be any different. Uh, this is a typical win that makes the Cowboys and the Eagles tied at 10-3, which we would have the nod for the division. So everyone's gonna, get on the hype train like, oh, the Cowboys are gonna win the division, blah 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 blah. I'm gonna tell you this: if we win this game, which I do think we will win this game, when we win this game, go take the Eagles to win the division because that's the best odds you're gonna get. The Cowboys
Yeah.
would then have to follow it up by winning out, basically, because the Eagles would only have to play the Seahawks, Giants, Cardinals, Giants, who all suck.
And the
Seahawks suck.
Cowboys' remaining
We barely
schedule is
beat them.
extremely tough. Yeah.
So yeah, they should win out. Even if they lose one, Cowboys would have to then beat in Miami, in Buffalo, at home against the Lions, and at Commanders, I believe. So I expect the Eagles to still win the division based off of what we're looking at. I
Yeah.
think the Cowboys win this game and tie for the 10-3 record, which would tentatively put us in the 2 seed behind the Niners after they win this week.
Yep. I like that a lot. Titans and Dolphins play in Miami. Um, Obviously, the Titans have been kind of back and forth with their new quarterback and Will Levis, but if Derrick Henry's not playing, if he's in concussion protocol, then I'm liking the Dolphins in this game. I am going to buy it to 6.5 just because of how well the Titans defense plays. I feel like they will find a way to limit Tyreek Hill under 100 yards, one way or another. He's still going to get his, but I just don't think he's going to be as explosive as he's been in these previous weeks. Um, so for that reason, I do like the Titans plus 14.5. Going to buy it a few points there at minus 150. And I also like the Dolphins minus 6.5 at minus 280. I feel like the Dolphins are definitely the better team. They're going to win by a touchdown to 10 points. And I feel like that's just kind of a good middle bet, getting Titans plus 14.5 and Dolphins minus 6.5. Have a pretty good shot to hit both those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the Titans are just one of those teams that they like to run the ball, and in doing that, they're able to keep the game close. So I like the plus 14.5. I think that's a good play. I still don't love it because the Dolphins can put up 21 points in 3 minutes,
True.
and you could be screwed real quick. And with Will Levis, I think the Dolphins are either 1 or 2 in scoring defense since week 7. I believe it's number 1. And so I don't expect the Titans to be scoring a lot, but I think if their defense can hold them to that 27-31 range, they'll cover 14.5 by being able to put up, 13, 17, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I like that. The last game that we were talking about, Packers and Giants, and the Giants just suck. It's pretty enjoyable to watch as a Cowboys fan, to be honest. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm just gonna fade them again. Packers minus 6.5, minus 120. Let's go Packers.
Yeah, I'll take 6.5. I mean, Packers look good. They're one of those teams we're going to talk about that have a good look at making the playoffs. And Jordan Love's been balling. I talked about it in the first episode that I think Jordan is going to ball. I didn't know where the Packers would fall because of defense. Their defense still looks good. So 6-6 with an easy schedule remaining. This should be another easy win. Tommy DeVito's 2-0. I get that, but the Giants still suck. So Packers should come out and win it. Probably a low scoring game, 20-10 or something.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable for sure. Packers minus 6.5, baby. Let's go. And then
Mm-hmm.
before we move on to UFC, we had another good week last week, 2-1. We want to talk a little bit about some NFL futures. Just kind of talk about playoff teams, maybe buy and sell some teams to make the playoffs. Um, some NFC, AFC championship predictions and possible Super Bowl predictions. So let's kind of hop right into that. For the AFC, obviously you have a few teams that you're really looking at in the Dolphins, Ravens, Chiefs, Jags, but you have some of these other teams that are going to be on the flip of the coin, like the Steelers,
Mm-hmm.
Browns, Colts, Texans, Broncos. What are some of those teams that you're really buying into, Zach?
I'm going to say that the Colts are going to make the playoffs. I like them a lot. I don't think their schedule here on out is too tough. And I know that the last game of the year, they have the Texans at home, and that's one of those teams that they're fighting with to get in. So I definitely like the Colts. I'm still leaning on the Broncos. I do think the Broncos are going to make the playoffs. I love that plus 290 play a couple weeks back that I told you guys about. I think that this is going to be a big week because if they drop to 6-7, not
It's
so sure I
tough.
love it
Yeah.
anymore. Um, but if they win this game, I think they're an absolute lock that they will make the playoffs. So the Broncos, Colts, and I think with the final spot, I'm gonna ride the Texans, but I'm still not sure. So I'm kind of waiting. Again, I think the Bills are going to beat the Chiefs this week, and if the Bills do that, I think the Bills could find their way into a 7 spot still. Um, but I would not be surprised to somehow see the Texans, Colts, and Jags all in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because even so, the Texans and Colts could win that division still with Trevor Lawrence now being out. It's going to be a tough game against the Browns in Cleveland this week, which they could lose, and Colts or Texans win and tie them for division. And then they have the Ravens in Baltimore the week after that. So whether Trevor Lawrence is back or not, I'm taking
Tough.
Baltimore.
Yeah.
And then they have 3 games after that to then play catch up if they do drop both these games. Um, so I do expect to see probably the Colts and Jags in the playoffs. And with how they've looked, D'Amico Ryan, CJ Stroud, I do think Texans will probably end up making it. I think this week, if the Broncos lose, the Bills find their way to make it in. If they win, I think the Broncos could make it in, and maybe that means the Bills will obviously winning this game bump one of those other teams out of the playoffs,
Hmm.
which means I do think teams like the Steelers, which I had them out of the playoffs to begin with at 11-6 in my predictions before the year. Now with Kenny Pickett out and getting ran tonight at home, they'll be 7-6. They have some tough games left, so I do think they miss the playoffs. The Browns still have some tough games left. This one's not an easy game, even though it's CJ Beathard for the Jags. But they need this one, so that would put them at 8 wins. But still, their defense has given up over 30 in 4 of the last 7 games after starting hot. 29 in another game and
Yeah.
24 against the Seahawks. So their defense is not as good as they were, or at least as they seem to be to start the year. I think the Browns fall off, Steelers fall off, and then the Bengals still have a chance
Hmm.
at 6-6 as well. I don't expect them to make it, but this is again an interesting week. They have the Colts, which out of these two teams, I was leaning Bengals, but I'm not going to touch it because we love Gardner. We love the
Yeah.
Colts. We're trying to ride the wave. So if they win, they could also find their way into the playoffs. But I'm saying probably the Texans, Jags, Colts, whoever doesn't win the division, 2 of those will make it, and I think the Bills might find a way. If not, then I think the Broncos will get there.
Yeah, I think that the Bills and Bengals are still right in there, even at 10 and 11 right now. Couple good wins go their way. They have a real shot to find their way in. Now on the
Mm-hmm.
NFC side of things, you obviously have the Eagles and the Niners, who are the mainstays in the top two. The Lions are looking pretty good at 9-3 right now, along with the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a whole list of teams that have 6 and 5 wins in the Falcons, Vikings, Packers, Rams, Seahawks, Buccaneers, Saints, and yeah, the Saints. And then from there we'll go to 4 wins. But yeah, I mean that's
Nice.
a ton of teams, a lot of NFC South teams vying for a spot in there. in their
They
playoffs.
suck. They're
So
so bad.
yeah, I mean, we predicted that in the beginning of the season. The winner of that division was probably going to have 9 or 10 wins max,
Mhm.
and it's right on course. So love that. But yeah, who are some of those NFC teams that you expect to find their way into the playoffs here in the last few weeks?
Yeah, so the first wild card is going to be the Cowboys. That's obvious. Or
Yeah,
Eagles, but
yeah.
probably Cowboys. Um, the 4 seed is going to go to the winner of that division. I know at the
Falcons,
beginning of the year I
Saints,
took
Bucks.
the
Yeah,
yeah I took the Panthers, but I said don't sleep on the Falcons. So based off that alone, I'm going to ride the Falcons all the way in. I do think they lose this week to the Bucks, so they'll probably drop. But that means the Saints, Bucks, and Falcons are all going to be at 6 and 7. So
yeah,
it's going to be a wild. It's going to be a wild race. Assuming that's also assuming the Saints beat the Panthers this week, which we didn't talk about. They should. Panthers
true.
suck. I'm done. I'm done betting them. They're terrible. Um, yeah, I think the Falcons is probably who I'm going to ride with. I mean, I think I said the Saints should, but their coaching's terrible, and I stand by that statement. I think Jameis Winston needs to be playing right now instead of Derek Carr. Derek Carr looks terrible. Mike Thomas obviously is a mess. You never know what's going on there. Derek Carr was also getting booed in the last game when they put
True,
him back out there,
true.
so that was kind of comedy. So I'm gonna go Falcons, and then that means the 5, Cowboys 6. I'm not sure what the schedules look like remaining here on out, but I think the Rams might end up edging the Seahawks for it
That's what
because I
I was
think the
expecting too.
Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are gonna lose this week to the Niners and drop to now 6 and 7 after I think being 6 and 2 or 3.
Yeah,
And we had
something
talked
like
about how
that.
they're not that good of a team at 6 and 2 or 6 and 3. We're like, yeah, they're going to lose this week just because they're not a 7-win team. They're going to get to 6 and 7 this week. Have 4 weeks to go. The Rams, I think, also lose this week, get to 6 and 7. But I think they'll, if they have, I don't really know who they play, but I think the Rams have the better
They
team.
probably play each other at least once.
Yeah, they might play each other. I think they already played each other twice though. But
Let's
either way, yeah, pull it up real quick.
um they have played twice already. The Rams won
Yeah,
both games.
who do the Rams have left?
They have the Ravens, then the Commanders, Saints, Giants, and Niners. So probably 3-2 in those games.
So they'll win 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'll get to 9 and 8. And then can you have the Seahawks one?
Yep. Seahawks right here. Their remaining schedule is the Niners, Eagles, Titans, Steelers, and Cardinals. Thinking, yeah, probably 2-3, 3-2, maybe. They're lucky.
Yeah.
Probably two and
If they're,
three.
if they're
They'll beat the
lucky. All right.
Steelers and
Yeah.
Cardinals, right? But the Titans may be tough. They should win that game. So 2-3, 3-2,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
They'll
Niners and
lose
Eagles should,
either.
yeah.
They'll lose either the Titans or the Steelers, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll probably take the Rams of those two. And then the other team that, well, even so, they might both miss it because I still think the Vikings have a chance.
And the
Uh,
Packers,
And the Packers, I think, are making it. Their
yeah,
final 5 games, they're 6 and 6 now. In their final 5 games, those 5 teams have a combined record of 20 and 40. With the
yeah,
best of them being 6 and 6 is the Vikings, who they play
yeah.
once. They have the Bears this week, or no, not the Bears this
The
week.
Giants,
Giants this week. They have the Bears still. They have the Panthers still.
the Bucks,
And even the Vikings they should
yeah,
beat, and the Bucks. So
yeah,
Packers I think will make it. They'll go in as the 6th seed. Pretty confident in that. They'll get 10
yeah.
wins. They should end 4-1. They should end 5-0. I think they'll probably go 4-1, be 10-7, rock the 6th seed, and that's going to leave the 7th spot for either the Rams or the Vikings or the Seahawks. I do
I'm
still like the
expecting the
Vikings.
Rams. I'm expecting the Rams in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I still like the Vikings, so I'm hoping that they find a way to get it done now that Justin Jefferson's back this week. Obviously, everyone loves Josh Dobbs right now, but I kind of do feel like it's going to be the Rams in there, and that would mean that the Saints, Bucks, you name it. I mean, Commanders, Giants, whoever else is even around in the picture. I think all of them are still going to miss it, and then it'll just be a battle to see who gets the first, second, third pick.
Yeah, and then obviously with those teams making the playoffs, who's your clear favorite to make the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl on the NFC side?
Yeah, so my preseason pick, Ravens Niners, is still my Super Bowl matchup. I still am confident in that. Uh, Again, I think the Cowboys actually have a better chance. I said that at the beginning of the year. Didn't know why. Now I kind of know why. I said that the Eagles' defense might not be as good. They're not. And Jalen Hurts. I said they might have injuries, and Jalen Hurts, although they're 10-2 and he's looked decent, he hasn't looked great because his leg's been hurt all year. So if we match up with them come playoffs, especially if we can get home field, I don't expect us to, but I think the Cowboys could knock them off, or maybe if the Lions could knock them off, we can knock off the Lions, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I expect Niners to get there. Eagles will probably still get there, having home field in Philadelphia, I expect. But I would say I think the Cowboys have a chance, in which case it would be Cowboys Niners. Niners, I think, come out of the NFC. AFC is a little more tough now because, well, I think it's easier now, but it's gotten tough because I think if the Bills can squeak in as a wild card, I think I said in the
hmm
beginning of the year that the Bengals, Jags, or Bills would knock off the Chiefs early. I still believe that to be the case, except now I still think Jags win the division. So on that, I think those wild card spots, if the Bills can make it, I think the Bills would knock them off.
yeah,
Uh, the Texans
yeah,
would not be shocked to see knock them off. If the Texans can make it, they're slinging the ball. They have nothing to lose. They're really young. No one expects much out of them. I could see them doing it. And then Ravens, I expect to be there. I think they'll win the AFC still. And then I really think it's going to be a battle of if someone can knock off the Chiefs, then I'm guessing it'll be the Dolphins because they will be the 1 and 2 seeds, which I predicted at the beginning of the year. Um, like I said, I think they'll be competing for 13, 14 wins to be the 1 and 2 seed. I think the Ravens win it. I don't think the Dolphins are good enough to compete with the likes of a Bills or Chiefs or Jags if they're healthier with home field with Trevor Lawrence there. Um, but again, their defense is number
yeah.
one since week
Solid.
7 or 8,
Yeah, yeah,
and their offense is what it is. So I would love to see the Dolphins find a way to get to the AFC Championship game. I do still think the Ravens are the team to beat, and I think Ravens. I think the Niners should beat the Ravens. However, I'm going to ride Ravens over Niners till I die because it was 104-1 preseason. I wrote it, and we're sticking
yeah.
with it.
Yeah, I like that. I like the NFC picks. I like the Eagles against either the Niners against either the Eagles or the Cowboys. I think that's solid. I think the Niners are going to pretty clearly take the NFC. They have the best team for sure. And then the Dolphins, the Ravens, and the Chiefs are the three teams I expect to be vying for the AFC Championship. I expect it to be the Ravens and the Chiefs. I think the Dolphins will eventually get knocked out. I don't know who it'll be, but I don't expect them to go all the way this year, but maybe next year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then yeah, so that leaves Ravens Niners right there for the Super Bowl. And I think you're right on par from what you picked at the beginning of the season. So that would be sick to see that hit. Um,
That'd be cool. I'm
but
excited
yeah,
for
man,
it.
that's gonna do it for NFL. UFC, I have a nice little card this week for Fight Night. It was supposed to be in China, but I heard that got canceled and then moved back to Vegas. I expect Kevin Jusset to win, Khalil Roundtree to win, and the Song Yadong and Chris Gutierrez fight to go over 1.5 rounds. Those are my main three picks. Probably not the greatest odds. I know Jusset's at -170, Roundtree's at -250 right now. Those are guys that I really think are going to win. Yudong and Lee and Yudong and Gutierrez to go over 1.5 feels pretty good. Gutierrez has definitely picked it up in his last 3 or 4 fights, so I expect him to keep this one close and give himself a chance late in the fight. So, yeah, those are my picks for UFC. Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. It's been pretty fun for us to do on the side of work and whatnot. We enjoy going
Mhm.
through kind of our best picks of the week. So, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe, let us know what you think. We're hoping to bring on guests soon. Hoping to have a few friends get off work to try and meet our schedule, but it's been tough enough as it is for us two to get our schedules to link up. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll hopefully see you guys next week. Peace.
Yep. See ya.